Hello. May you please introduce yourself to the community?
Sure. Hi, my name's Deric Hardy. I'm a MLIS student at University of North Carolina at Greensboro within my last semester, surviving. I'm doing a practicum field experience right now in lieu of my graduation May 2022. Whoop. And And I'm a resident of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, native of Eastern North Carolina, the country, and looking forward to entering the field of librarianship. And my subject specialty area is sciences. Um, and again, my practicum this semester is actually in STEM, which I realize there is a slight difference between STEM and strictly science librarianship, so they're not the same, which was something I learned. And so um, that's all about me. Just not much, just a country boy trying to be a librarian. That's it.
Okay. And can you describe your practicum and what you're doing right now?
Sure. So there are two projects I'm working on currently. One is delivery of information literacy instruction, which I completed one part of today, tackling the subject of gray literature, which everybody kind of is like, I don't know about that. So creating instruction and learning activities within Canvas for Wake Forest for this course. My second project is actually developing part of a LibGuide for gray literature for government sources. And so I've been working on these two projects, pretty much developing them throughout the semester up to the current.
So what made you say yes to librarianship?
Well, librarianship has been something that's libraries has been an important part of my life. I remember back in my hometown, I used to go to the local community college, to the library a lot. And I used to go to our public library as well, check out audiobooks. It was something that was important to me as a youth. It was, coming from a small country town, it wasn't a lot to do. So libraries played a big role in a lot of, my life as well as other kids. And actually, as a graduate student, I have a master's degree previously from North Carolina A&T. And during my graduate studies, I started to spend a lot of time in Blueford Library at A&T. And a reference librarian came over and asked me one day, he's like, hey, do you need help with anything? And from that point on, they pretty much taught me how to conduct research the right way, how to use databases, what kind of sources, primary sources, things like that I could use in my research. And it was just like a light bulb went off. I was like, wait a minute. So I can teach, not necessarily in a classroom, but I can teach students on how to do various things, still in science, because science is my background, but teach students how to conduct research, how to, find literature for research and for coursework.
Okay, that's great. And so now I'm going to get into a little bit more deeper questions.
Okay.
So I want you to describe some of the insecurities you've had, pursuing this field.
Well, initially, I didn't have any insecurities about pursuing this field. I think more so, one of the things I've noticed there is I would say there's some issues with diversity possibly that are somewhat noticeable. I think libraries historically have had this issue, and I think they've made great strides to try to improve that, and they have. I just think that there's some cultural diversity issues that they could continue to strive, or we could all continue to strive towards improvement with libraries.
Okay. And now how have you been able to navigate different types of conflict or challenges in your current position or just any of your positions within the library?
Well, let's see. I don't think I've had any conflicts to date. Because I have somewhat, I come from a customer service background. I worked retail before, maybe about 10, 15 years ago before I decided to go back to graduate school. And a lot of the approach that I take to working with uh, patrons is customer service focused. You always want to provide the best customer service experience or user experience for patrons and libraries. And that's my approach. Everything as far as helping them with their informational needs, finding different materials in the library is always focused on how can I provide the best customer service or provide them with the best experience so they'll come back, because many libraries depend, if not all of them, depend on their patronage, and people coming in the door. So um, just always trying to challenge myself to provide excellent customer service.
And what about with your colleagues? Do you feel like you've had to overcome certain things with working in a female dominated industry?
But I haven't faced that challenge. I've always, when I first started library school, I thought that everybody wanted to be a librarian from birth, and that's not necessarily the case. From fellow graduate students, a lot of them being educators and kind of doing switching over from the teacher role to the librarianship. Even with some of the administrators at my school, not to name names, but a lot of them came from different industries that were not librarianship initially. They didn't start off as librarians, as undergraduates. They may have started in education, and some of them were in business fields and kind of switched over. Um, and so it's similar to mine. My background, I have a life science undergraduate degree. I have a agriculture education master's. And so I want to work with science students and help them make research palatable. Um, my goal is I want to meet the student that was me that didn't understand research. And so to better help them know that, hey, there's different ways to conduct research. It's not just one size fits all and you're capable of doing it. But I haven't really noticed any issues with being in a field that's, you said it's female dominated. No.
Okay. And how has your network supported you personally in the field? And then how have they supported you professionally in the field?
Well, my network has been phenomenal. My site advisor for my practicum right now consistently asks me, "Have you slept?" It's because, I'm very stretched for time. I'm pretty much carrying a full load for graduate school last semester with my practicum. I'm working full time, have other responsibilities, and so she's always checking to make sure I slept. And my advisor, Dr. Nora Bird, has been a godsend from the beginning. She's always been supportive, helpful. She's always provided me with suggestions for employment. Has always encouraged, that I'm going to find a job because I have a science background, and just in general, a lot of my network is at UNCG. A lot of people have worked with in Jackson Library. They've always been great, have always helped me to better understand information literacy topics and just in general good librarianship. So it's important, I think, especially as maybe a non-traditional student going back even after, you know, um, maybe working full time and having a family, it's important to have a network. And I think UNCG provides an excellent is an excellent place for that. There's so many good resources there, good people that will, just make sure that you're okay as a person. I even remember another person I really cherish there is Dr. Velez. Um, During the height of COVID, a lot of the instructors had classes from their home on Zoom. And, it was just good that she would sit and she would talk about real topics on top of MLIS subject content, but she would just talk about her experiences and having gone to school and um, just life in general. And that's the difference I've found in the USCG community as far as MLIS is concerned and Jackson Library. They've been very supportive throughout my studies.
I love Nora Bird.
She is the greatest.
She is amazing.
Awesome. Super
Yes.
awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, what has been the most enjoyable experience for you thus far?
You mean as far as just a general, or you mean
like just
as far as librarianship?
Librarianship, yeah.
I think seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as far as graduating. I think that the practicum experiences, I've done 2 practicums since I've been at USCG, and the practicum experiences were great because they put you in the role. Well, my site advisors have pretty much put me in the role that they serve at their institutions. I did one at Virginia Tech, and I'm doing this one at Wake Forest. And so pretty much what they do is what I do. And I don't think you can get any closer to that besides doing the job yourself. So the practicum experiences have been great. The academic coursework has been good too. But I just think students getting a practical experience of what they can expect that was something that I really valued. It pushed me, it challenged me, but it also was really rewarding to get that hands-on experience.
And what kind of advice would you give the new generation of librarians coming in? Yes, and that in particular, and those who are deciding that they're going to pursue this as a profession?
Well, librarian men, I think that there's definitely opportunity for them in the profession. MLIS is a great profession. It's a great graduate program to go into. I just think that, because MLIS emphasizes and the American Library Association emphasizes equity, diversity, and inclusion so strongly and has taken great steps to increase diversity in the field and within graduate programs and at libraries, that it's a great time for males to enter the field. It's a great time for anybody, especially if you have a science background. I know a lot of places are looking for people with science backgrounds. So as far as males go, I honestly, I see at UNCG, I see an equal number. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm overlooking something, but I don't know. I don't really look at gender in terms, I have never really looked at gender in terms of MLIS studies or my work. I really haven't looked at that.
That's interesting. Yeah, we had one young Black male in our library more recently. And so it was like a breath of fresh air to have that different voice represented in the profession. Right. So, yeah.
And I think for Jackson Library, that would be Mr. Gerald Holmes, who's also a
he's wonderful.
Great resource. Yes, yes. Librarians in general at USCG are just so approachable. it was different. It was just like, it almost like it wasn't a library. It was more of a study hall or a student. It's hard to it's hard to describe because the librarians are so personable. You know, I know back when I was back in the old days, when you go in libraries, you always see like the librarian sitting almost like at a church pulpit, and they were like kind of looking down at you, and they weren't really ever saying anything. You'd be afraid to approach. um, but especially with the reference circulation and reference at Jackson Library, it's almost like they're wanting you. They're saying, "Come over here, let us help you. Let us help you." And that's definitely a break from what I think people's impression of what libraries were, especially reference. And I think in terms of young people, them seeing diverse librarians in certain areas of the library actually helps them to want to come over and get help and find, the resources they need. So maybe it's just different. I don't know. Jackson is different. It's different from most libraries. It's just it's very approachable. It's a very approachable environment. And it's almost like a one-stop shop because I always joke about you can get your Chick-fil-A, you kind of walk down, get your Starbucks, and then come down into the library. And it's the only library I've really ever seen out of the different academic libraries I've been in where you can eat and there's no problem. You kind of get your work done and have your Starbucks and you just sit there and do your work and keep it moving. So
Okay, great. And so now we're going to get into the last question of the evening. Why are you proud to be Black in libraries?
I'm proud to be Black in libraries for the simple fact that we have been a historically underrepresented group, not only in academic librarianship, but in academia in general. From my experiences of working in an academic library, not only students of color, BIPOC students, or students of diverse backgrounds, but all students, I think, benefit from the experience of working with diverse librarians, because we bring so many different cultural aspects to the work that we do with patrons. So I think it's good in general to have a well-rounded, diverse, culturally diverse set of librarians in your library.
Okay. What would you like the people to know about you?
What to know about me? It's not much. I kind of look at myself. I have the personality of a cataloger.
Okay.
Even though I looked at cataloging for a brief second, but I was like, you know what? I'm a little more extroverted than that.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty straightforward. My joke is I'm the non-traditional student. So this is my second graduate degree. And so what I look to do is parlay both of those into a subject specialist, librarian or liaison position in the academic library. Again, I'm fairly straightforward. I'm from the country. Nothing fancy here. What you see is what you get. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Deric.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.